It did not begin with bombs falling from the sky. It began with words. When Iran's President Massud Peshkian declared that his country was already in a full-fledged war with the United States, Israel, and Europe, he was not announcing a future conflict, but describing what he saw as a present reality. He argued that this war was not being fought only with weapons, but with sanctions, isolation, political pressure, military strikes, and cultural influence, all acting together to weaken Iran and prevent it from standing on its feet. Peshkian compared the current situation to the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s, one of the bloodiest conflicts in the modern Middle East, and said that what Iran faces now is even worse. During that war, the enemy was visible, the front lines were clear, and retaliation had a direction. Today, he said, the battle is spread across many fronts at once: economic, political, diplomatic, security, and cultural, making it far more complex and difficult to confront. From Tehran's perspective, the pressure is coordinated, not random, and it is designed to slowly exhaust the country rather than defeat it quickly. On the economic front, Iran faces renewed and intensified sanctions, particularly targeting its oil exports, which are the backbone of its economy. The goal of this pressure, as Iran sees it, is to drain its resources, limit its ability to govern, and weaken its society from within. On the diplomatic front, Iran finds itself increasingly isolated, with negotiations over its nuclear program frozen and channels that were once open now closed. Talks that had begun with cautious optimism earlier in the year collapsed after the military escalation in June, leaving no meaningful diplomatic path forward. That escalation marked a turning point. In June, Israel struck Iranian military and nuclear-linked sites, and Iran responded by launching hundreds of missiles and drones toward Israel. The United States assisted Israel in intercepting those attacks and then went further by striking Iranian nuclear facilities itself. From Tehran's perspective, this confirmed what Iranian leaders have long argued, that Israel and the United States act together as a single force in the region. Washington's direct involvement transformed what might have remained a limited confrontation into something much larger, and effectively ended the possibility of negotiation. Now, each side is preparing for what might come next. Israel says Iran is rebuilding its missile capabilities and views those missiles as a major threat. Iran says its missile program is purely defensive and essential to its deterrence, especially since it does not possess nuclear weapons and faces adversaries with far greater conventional power. Striking Iran's missile infrastructure, Tehran argues, would be an attempt to leave the country defenseless and exposed to future attacks, making escalation almost inevitable. At the heart of this confrontation remains the unresolved dispute over Iran's nuclear program. The agreement that once limited Iran's nuclear activities is gone. Trust has collapsed, and verification mechanisms are contested. Each side accuses the other of bad faith. Western powers argue Iran is pursuing dangerous capabilities, while Iran insists its program is peaceful, and that it is being punished for refusing to submit to foreign pressure. Without diplomacy, suspicion replaces dialogue, and every defensive move is interpreted as preparation for war. This is why Peshkian says Iran is already at war, not because of the number of explosions, but because of the totality of pressure bearing down on the country. Sanctions, strikes, isolation, and threats are not separate events in Tehran's eyes, but parts of a single campaign. Each escalation invites a response. Each response raises the risk of miscalculation, and without open channels, there is little to stop a crisis from spiraling into something far worse. The danger now is not only what has already happened, but what comes next. Israeli leaders are discussing further options. The United States continues to tighten sanctions while keeping military choices available. Iran says it will respond more decisively to any new attack. Every actor believes it is defending itself, and every action is justified as necessary. This is how wars begin, not with declarations, but with the slow collapse of diplomacy, the hardening of positions, and the growing conviction on all sides that confrontation is unavoidable. Whether this remains a war of pressure or becomes a war of fire will depend on decisions made in the coming weeks. But the trajectory is clear, and it is pointing toward danger.